So, um, if you were to walk into a public library back in, say, the 1930s, it was essentially this fortress of silence.
Oh, absolutely. A totally silent fortress.
Right. I mean, it was a place where you could quite literally be thrown out or even fined just for coughing too loudly.
Yeah, the rules were incredibly strict back then.
They really were.
Yeah.
But today, if you walk into that exact same building in a lot of English-speaking towns, it's like the loudest, most dynamic, interactive living room in the entire city.
It's a massive shift.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, how did our shared public spaces change so drastically over the last century? And more importantly, for our purposes today, how did the vocabulary we use to describe our weekends evolve right alongside those spaces?
It is a really fascinating transformation, because we often think of language learning as this sterile laboratory.
Oh, right, like just memorizing from a textbook.
Exactly. We think we just memorize lists of vocabulary. But language is an ecosystem. I mean, it lives and breathes in our public square, our parks, and, well, our weekend routines.
Yeah, and that brings us to today. Welcome to this deep dive. If you are listening right now, you are in for a very specific type of journey.
We have a really special focus today, don't we?
We do, because you, our target audience today, are adult English learners. So we're going to adjust our approach just a bit.
Right, which means we are going to speak at a measured, deliberate pace.
Exactly. We will be speaking slowly and clearly, and we'll use simple, everyday words, but make no mistake, we are definitely not going to treat you like children.
No, not at all.
We're going to dive deeply into the complex mechanics, the sociology, and really the rich cultural history behind the English language. The goal is to make it easy and fun to understand, but still intellectually engaging.
Because adult learners require context. You don't just need a dictionary definition of a word, you need to understand the cultural weight that the word carries.
So true.
You need to understand why native speakers choose one specific phrase over another when they're describing their lives.
Right. And our source material today gives us the perfect window into that. We're looking at a fascinating set of notes from a master class.
And it focuses on a specific case study, right?
Yes, a case study about a high school student named Lily. So Lily balances this highly demanding academic schedule during the week. From Monday to Friday, her life is just governed by strict schedules, deadlines, and intense pressure.
Which is something I think a lot of us can relate to.
Totally. And because of that week-long pressure, her Saturdays are elevated. They become incredibly precious to her.
That sharp division between the work week and the weekend, it's a deeply ingrained concept in modern society.
It really is. It changes how we speak, right?
Exactly. During the week, our language is often very transactional, like we talk about what we must do. But the weekend opens up this whole new space for descriptive language, for emotional language.
Yeah, a weekend is kind of like a blank canvas.
That's a great way to put it. Lila's Saturday is essentially a blank slate, and the words she uses to describe it give us a perfect map of modern English culture.
So here is our mission for today's deep dive. We are going to explore Lily's vibrant Saturday adventure. By following her day, you're going to learn powerful, new vocabulary words.
And discover some really interesting cultural habits along the way.
Right. And finally, you'll practice how to bring your own weekend stories to life. Okay, let's unpack this and start right at the beginning of Lily's morning.
The best place to start.
Because the way we start our day often dictates the vocabulary we're going to need later on. So the notes describe Lily's morning in this vivid detail. She wakes up naturally, without the jarring noise of an alarm clock.
Which is already a huge luxury, right?
Huge luxury. The sun is streaming brightly through the curtains, and outside her window, she says, a choir of birds is singing. And then she puts on her favorite worn-in sneakers.
There are some subtle but really powerful linguistic choices happening there.
Oh, definitely. Like, what jumps out at you first?
Well, think about when we use an alarm clock. The language we associate with that kind of morning is often linked to stress. We drag ourselves out of bed, we rush out the door.
Right. I had to drag myself up. It sounds exhausting.
Exactly. But Lily wakes up to a choir of birds. Now, a choir is traditionally a highly organized group of singers, usually in a grand setting like a church or a concert hall.
Yeah, like a professional group.
Right. So by applying that word to just random birds in a tree, she is elevating a normal morning into an event.
That's such a great observation. It makes it sound almost magical. And then she gets out of bed and puts on what she calls her worn-in sneakers. Now, this is an interesting compound adjective. She doesn't say worn out. She says worn in.
And that distinction is really crucial for learners.
How so?
Well, when an object is worn out, its utility is gone. It's broken from too much use. You probably need to throw it away.
Right, like a tire with no tread left. It's worn out.
Exactly. But when shoes or clothes are worn in, it means they have been used just enough to perfectly match the shape of your body. They have reached peak comfort.
Oh, I love that. The friction of the past has made them ideal for the present.
Beautifully said, yes.
So she ties those worn-in sneakers and declares that she is ready for an exciting weekend full of adventure.
Exciting and adventure. Those are two very strong words.
They are. And this is where I want to pause and challenge the vocabulary a bit because, as an English learner, the word good is very safe. I had a good weekend. It's easy. So why does a native speaker reach for a word like exciting? Does it just mean very, very good?
Not at all. Let's break down the word exciting. exciting. It goes way beyond just feeling good.
Okay. How is it different?
Good is a passive state of satisfaction. Like you can eat a good meal and just feel sleepy on the couch.
True. A good meal doesn't make me want to run a marathon.
Right. But exciting is fundamentally different because it is actually tied to human physiology. The root of the word comes from the Latin concept of rousing or calling out.
Oh, interesting. So it's an active word.
Very active. When something is exciting, it actively triggers an adrenaline response in your nervous system. Your heart rate elevates, your enthusiasm spikes, your senses sharpen.
So it's a physical state, not just an opinion about the day.
Exactly.
But wait, what about the word adventure? When I hear adventure, my mind immediately goes to, like, something huge and dangerous.
Like an Indiana Jones movie.
Yes, exactly like an Indiana Jones movie. Someone running through a jungle, dodging traps, or, climbing Mount Everest. If Lily is just walking around her local town with her parents, isn't calling that an adventure completely diluting the power of the English language?
I can totally see why you'd ask that.
Because if everything is an adventure, isn't nothing an adventure?
What's fascinating here is that this is a very common assumption, but linguistically, the word adventure has shifted.
How so?
Historically, yes, the Old French root referred to destiny, fate, and often great physical danger. But modern English has really democratized the word. Today, an adventure is simply an unusual, exciting, or bold experience.
Oh, so it doesn't require a jungle or a boulder chasing you.
Not at all. It is defined not by external danger, but by an internal mindset of exploration.
A mindset of exploration. I like that. But how does that work in practice?
Well, it means stepping outside your established routine with the willingness to experience an unknown outcome.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure, if you go to the exact same coffee shop every Saturday and order the exact same drink, that is a routine. But if you walk down a street you have never visited and walk into a new bakery simply because you don't know what they sell inside, that is the modern definition of an adventure.
Wow, so going to a new city or just trying a new type of food, that counts as an adventure.
Exactly. Lily is actively choosing to view her local town not as a predictable background, but as a space for discovery.
That reframing is actually quite profound. It means adult learners don't need to wait for a massive, expensive vacation to use dynamic vocabulary in their English conversations. You can just manufacture an adventure simply by altering your weekend routine.
Exactly. You just have to change your mindset.
So Lily's first adventure of the day involves packing up some food and heading outside, which naturally moves our conversation to the park.
And this brings us to the concept of the picnic.
Right, and the source material gives us some incredibly specific, colorful details about this picnic.
The details are what make the story come alive.
Definitely. Lily mentions a large red and white checkered picnic blanket. She mentions a wicker basket, yummy ham and cheese sandwiches, fresh blueberries, and chilled apple juice. And they sat under this giant ancient oak tree for over an hour.
Let's look at the sociology behind those objects for a second.
Yeah, please do.
A checkered blanket, meaning a pattern of alternating colored squares, and a wicker basket made of woven wood. These are highly traditional, almost romanticized items in Western culture.
They really are. It feels very classic. But why do we bring such specific domestic items out into the grass?
A picnic is essentially the act of temporarily colonizing nature.
Oh, wow. Colonizing nature.
Yeah, you are taking the comfort and structure of your indoor dining room and placing it in an unstructured, wild environment. By listing these specific details, the exact type of sandwich, the temperature of the chilled apple juice lily, is signaling that this meal was heavily planned.
Right, they didn't just grab a protein bar on the way out the door.
Exactly. It wasn't a desperate attempt to eat quickly. It was a deliberate act of leisure.
I love that. A deliberate act of leisure. So they sit beneath this giant oak tree, and while they are resting, Lily uses a detail that I find absolutely fascinating.
What's the detail?
She says, a cool breeze moved through the branches and it rustled the leaves.
Ah, rustled. That is a fantastic word.
It really is. So let's highlight that word, rustle, R-U-S-T-L-E.
And note that the letter T is completely silent, so it is pronounced rustle.
Rustling.
This is a prime example of onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia. That's a big word for our learners. Let's break it down into simple terms.
Sure, onomatopoeia is basically a structural feature where a word sounds exactly like the noise it describes.
Oh, like buzz or beep.
Exactly. So rustle sounds like the soft, crackling noise of dry leaves or paper moving together.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Using words like rustle is basically like adding audio sound effects to your story.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, think about it. It doesn't just tell you what happened factually. It lets you actually hear it in your mind.
It really does. When you hear standard vocabulary, your brain has to decode the letters, translate them into a concept, and then access your memory.
Which takes a fraction of a second, but it's a process.
Right. But sound symbolism, like the soft sound in rustle, it bypasses that standard linguistic decoding. It hits the auditory processing centers of the brain almost immediately. You don't just comprehend the word, your brain genuinely simulates hearing those dry leaves.
It's basically a sensory hack for storytelling.
It really is.
If you are telling a colleague about your weekend hike, saying the wind blew the leaves is factual, but it's kind of dead. But saying the leaves rustled, that activates their sensory cortex. You pull them into the environment with you.
And of course, environments constantly shift. A picnic isn't just about sitting still forever.
Right, eventually the food is gone.
Exactly. The picnic begins in a state of calm sensory observation. But soon, the physical energy kicks in. The family transitions from passive consumers of the environment to active participants.
Which leads right into the afternoon activity. The family starts playing with a neon orange frisbee on the grass.
A very classic park activity.
Very classic. And Lily admits in the notes that she is usually quite clumsy.
Clumsy, meaning she lacks physical coordination.
Yeah, she trips over her own feet, drops things, that sort of stuff. But in this relaxed environment, she discovers she is actually talented at catching the frisbee midair. She says they laughed until their sides actually hurt.
It sounds like she entered a sort of flow state where she was just having pure fun.
Totally. And the way she describes the game brings up a great phrase. She focuses on how she and her dad played against her mom and little brother in a fierce but friendly competition. She says they teamed up.
Teamed up. That's a highly versatile phrasal verb.
It is. But I have to ask, why didn't she just say, my dad and I played with them? Why turn the noun team into a verb and then add the word up to it?
Well, the English language relies heavily on phrasal verbs to add these microscopic layers of context.
Okay, microscopic layers, like what?
If she just says we played, it just means they engaged in an activity. But teamed up means joining forces with another person or group to achieve a specific goal.
So it's more intentional.
Exactly. It implies a structured collaboration against a specific challenge.
Okay, but what about the word up? What does up actually add to the equation?
In English phrasal verbs, the word up often signifies completion or bringing things together into a single unit.
Oh, like the difference between clean your room and clean up your room.
That is the perfect example. Clean is the action, but clean up means to bring the room to a state of total completion. So when two individuals team up, they're bringing their separate skills together to form one complete, unified entity.
That makes so much sense. The individuals disappear and the team is formed.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just vocabulary for playing a game on the grass.
No. Where else do we use it?
You can use it in adult professional life. Teaming up implies collaboration and partnership.
Oh, right, like at the office.
Yeah. If you say to a colleague, let's partner on this, it sounds very formal. But if you say, let's team up on this presentation, you are injecting that cooperative, energetic spirit of a weekend sport into a work task.
It softens it. It makes it sound friendly.
Exactly. It builds camaraderie.
Okay, so after all this running and jumping and teaming up in the hot afternoon sun, naturally you start to get tired and sweaty.
The physical exhaustion definitely sets in.
It does. Which makes you want to find a cool, quiet place. And that explains why Lily's family leaves the park and heads indoors.
And the place they choose to go perfectly illustrates the evolution of shared public space that we talked about earlier.
Yes. They head to the local library, and Lily sets the scene beautifully. She describes endless rows of wooden shelves filled with stories. She says she is a total bookworm.
A total bookworm, meaning someone who loves to read and reads constantly.
Exactly. And she meets this kind librarian with silver glasses. But here's where I want to push back again.
Oh, what's the pushback?
Well, think about different cultures. For a lot of people, a library is a very strict, silent place. It's meant only for serious study. You don't go there to hang out. So why did Lily go there for family fun?
That is a brilliant question, and it points to a key cultural point that is really important for learners to grasp.
Please explain it to us.
In many English-speaking countries today, the public library is considered a community hub.
A community hub.
Yes. Sociologists talk about the third space. Your first space is your home. Your second space is your work or school. A healthy society needs a third space, a place where people can gather, socialize, and interact without the pressure of spending money.
Oh, wow. So the library evolved into that third space.
Exactly. It is a warm, welcoming social space now. Modern libraries offer free workshops, they have loud storytime events for toddlers, and they're a place to discover new hobbies.
So what does this all mean for Lily and her family?
It means the library in this culture acts less like a quiet study box and much more like the living room of the whole town.
Living room of the whole town. I love that imagery. And in this community living room, the kind librarian recommends a very specific book to Lily.
What was the book about?
She mentions it's a hilarious story about a mischievous cat that gets into trouble.
Oh, mischievous. We need to put a massive spotlight on this word.
I was hoping you'd say that, because this word is tricky.
It is a massive phonetic trap for adult learners and native speakers alike.
Let's break it down carefully. The spelling is Mischievous.
Right. And you have to be so careful with the pronunciation. Many people mispronounce it as mischievous.
Mischievous, adding an extra sound in there.
Yes, they add a phantom I near the end,
Yeah.
but it is strictly 3 syllables. Mischievous.
Mischievous, with the stress heavily on the first syllable.
Exactly. Mischievous. The human brain naturally wants to rhyme it with words like previous or delicious, which end in that E-S sound, but you have to resist that urge. 3 syllables only.
Good to know. So that's the pronunciation. But what about the meaning? Because the prefix mischief usually means bad or wrong,
Right.
like mistake or misbehave.
Right, it does.
So does a mischievous cat mean the cat is evil?
No, and this is where the nuance is so important. Mischievous is usually used to describe someone, like a child or a pet, who causes a little bit of trouble, but in a funny or harmless way.
Okay, so it's not a mean way.
Not at all. It's playful disruption. A malicious person wants to cause actual harm, but a mischievous cat is just causing lighthearted chaos.
Can you give me a visual example?
Sure. Think of a cat looking right at you and then slowly using its paw to push your car keys off the kitchen counter just to watch them fall.
Oh, yes. I know that exact look.
Right. The cat isn't trying to destroy your life. It's just being mischievous. It's a playful transgression.
That makes perfect sense. So Lily gets her book about the mischievous cat. But as the day cools down, it's time to leave the quiet of the library.
Where to next?
They enter the busiest, most colorful part of the town, the town square.
Yeah.
And this leads to what Lily jokingly calls the most stressful part of her day,
The most stressful part on a Saturday. What was it?
the ice cream dilemma.
Oh.
She is standing in front of a glass case, trying to choose a flavor from 30 different colors. She stands there for 5 full minutes.
That is a perfect example of decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue.
Yeah, it's a psychological concept. When you have too many choices, your brain literally gets exhausted trying to calculate which one will bring the most satisfaction.
Oh, I get that all the time at restaurants. So how does Lily handle the fatigue?
Well, according to the notes, after 5 minutes, she settles on her favorite comfort food.
Right, chocolate chip cookie dough. Though I should note the sources playfully mentioned that another flavor, strawberry, was considered for those wanting something different. But she goes with the cookie dough.
Let's look at that phrase, settled on.
Yeah, why settle on?
To settle on something implies that after a period of fluctuation and stress, your mind finally lands securely in one place. You eliminate all the other options and you confidently accept the chosen path.
Ah, okay. So she settled on the cookie dough. And then, with their melting ice cream cones in hand, the family walks slowly through the town square. And the word Lily uses here is strolled.
Strolled, S-T-R-O-L-L-E-D.
Yes. Now, I want to ask about this, because walking, hiking, marching, and strolling, they all use the exact same physical movement. You put one foot in front of the other.
True, the physical biomechanics are the same.
So what's the difference? Why say strolled?
Because a stroll is very specific. It is slow, it is relaxed, and it is purely for pleasure.
Okay, so it's about the feeling behind the walking.
Exactly. It's about intention and urgency. If you are marching, your urgency is very high. If you are hiking, you are exercising in rugged terrain. But a stroll removes all urgency.
So you wouldn't scroll to something important.
Definitely not. You do not stroll to a business meeting because you would be late.
Right. You'd probably get fired.
Probably.
Yeah.
You stroll when you have nowhere else to be. The act of walking itself is the destination.
And because they are strolling, they have the time to really notice the lively, contagious atmosphere of the town square. Lily describes it as a mini carnival. There are little kids dancing, and street performers are playing violins and accordions.
It sounds like a wonderful atmosphere.
It does. And Lily calls these performers buskers.
Buskers. That's a great vocabulary word. A busker is simply an artist who performs in a public space.
But this raises an important question about how to interact with these musicians, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Encountering a busker brings up an unspoken rule of etiquette.
Okay, so tell us, what is the etiquette?
No.
Because the music is technically free, right? Do I have to pay them just for walking past?
No, not if you just walk past. If you maintain your pace, the music is just a free part of the urban landscape. But the etiquette kicks in if you stop.
If I stop to watch.
Yes. If you stop to watch or enjoy it for a few minutes, you are accepting the value of their art. These buskers are really the soul of the city.
So what should you do?
You should drop a small tip, like $1 or $2 or a few coins, into their hat or instrument case. It's an unspoken way to say thank you for creating that lively atmosphere.
That's a great tip for our learners who might be traveling. Drop a coin in the hat if you stop to watch.
Exactly. It's just good manners.
So after a full day of eating and running and reading and strolling, the sun finally dips below the horizon. Which brings us to the feeling at the end of the day.
The final emotion of the Saturday.
Right. Lily describes the family walking back to their car, and she says they were feeling tired but happy.
Tired but happy. That is a very classic idiom.
It seems so simple. But there's depth there, isn't there?
There really is. It describes the good kind of exhaustion.
As opposed to the bad kind.
Right. Think about working a terrible 12-hour shift at a job you dislike. You are physically tired, but your emotional energy is totally drained and miserable.
Yeah, that just feels bad.
But tired but happy means your physical energy is completely used up from all the fun activities, but your emotional energy is actually very high.
Because you had such a meaningful day.
Exactly, because creating wonderful memories is what life is all about.
Now, before we wrap up, we need to talk about fluency. Because speaking English well isn't just about knowing these dictionary definitions.
No, it is not.
It's about rhythm and emotion. So we want to talk about linking words together so they flow smoothly.
This is a huge step for adult learners.
Give us some examples of how to link words properly.
Well, a great technique is called shadowing. You listen to a native speaker, and you practice slowly copying their rhythm. Let's look at Lily's story. If she says, I had a recently, she doesn't separate the words. She links the D in had to the A. Had a.
Oh, like one word. Had a recently.
Exactly. Or when she chose her ice cream, she settled on cookie dough. You link the D in, settled to the O in on.
Settled on.
Settled on. That flows so nicely.
Right. I settled on the chocolate chip. And it's not just the links, it's the sounds themselves. Pay attention to the long O in oak tree. Ooh, ooh, tree. You really stretch it out. Or the soft ST in strolled. Strolled.
And don't forget the tone.
Oh, right. The bright, happy tone when talking about the singing birds.
Yes, your emotional prosody has to match the words. If you say, the birds were singing with a flat, sad voice, it confuses the listener. You have to literally smile while saying it.
Because practice makes permanent. Pause, repeat, and copy the emotions of the native speaker.
It's the best way to improve.
So let's summarize this amazing journey we've been on today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. We started with a vibrant canvas of a morning. We learned descriptive adjectives like exciting and worn in. We explored community culture in libraries and town squares.
We broke down some tricky pronunciation like mischievous.
Yes, only 3 syllables. And we learned how to link words together with emotion. And remember, this deep dive was designed to be spoken slowly and clearly to help you master the language.
And to help you master it, I have a homework challenge for you, directly from our source material.
Oh, I love homework. What's the challenge?
I want you to think about your own favorite weekend memory. Was it a slow stroll in the park, a lively dinner, Did you team up with friends for a sport?
Good prompts.
Take a moment and write down one sentence using at least one of today's power words. Practice linking the sounds together. And also, think about what ice cream flavor you would settle on. Would it be chocolate chip or something more adventurous?
I'm definitely going for the adventurous flavor. But as we leave you today, I want to give you one final provocative thought to ponder.
What is it?
When you look back on your own life, what actually makes a memory stick in your mind? Is it just the physical activity you did? Or is it the colorful, exciting words you used to tell the story to yourself?
Oh, that's a fascinating concept, almost like linguistic determinism.
Right. If you just say, it was good, the memory fades. But if you describe the rustling leaves and the mischievous cats, the memory stays alive. The words you choose build your reality.
That is so true.
So keep learning, stay curious, and practice your English every single day until our next deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.